fire signs. Take one.
Every one of these gates has water involved in it, and the 12th house, and Pisces, and Neptune. This work allows you to see the soul's motivation.
The notorious murderer, Joran van der Sloot.
Why did Joran van der Sloot do what he did? None of these victims were born to die this way.
It's Meredith, your evolutionary astrologer, and today is going to be a super fun conversation. And I'm so excited to bring this video to you because I'm going to teach you how to make predictions inside love, fame, fortune, using and looking at planets that have progressed into your seventh house. And I'm going to kind of teach you how to look at the astrology chart, your natal chart, through the lens of your progressions. And we're going to start looking at common themes around predictions. And so you can use your progressed chart, and I hope you all have your progressed chart. You can use your progressed chart to make predictions about your life. Now, we're going to make happy, joyful predictions mostly here by looking at that seventh house. And when certain planets move through that seventh house, different things happen in your life. And it is so true, and it is so shocking, and it is really, really powerful. So I cannot wait to teach you about what it means when your different progressed planets hit that descendant, hit that seventh house cusp. That seventh house cusp is synonymous with the word descendant. So I want you to go and take a look at your progressed chart. And then I want you to also look at your natal chart and go look and see what sign and what degree is on that seventh house cusp. And then when you look at your progressed chart, and you can buy one in my shop if you want, at soulnavigation.com, when you look at your progressed chart, do you have any planets that fall on that descendant or inside that seventh house by sign and by degree? Okay. Now, there's another shortcut way that you can do this, and that is you can order a biwheel with your natal chart and your progressed chart on the outside in my shop. It's just a progressed biwheel. We do the work for you. So I want to remind you that there's two different ways to look at your progressed chart. One as a standalone progressed chart, and you should look at that. And that is very, very important. But what I'm going to be talking about in this video is the biwheel. And that's why I would love to send you over to my shop to make sure you have one that is readable. And your progressed biwheel it's good for quite a while. It's good until your moon changes to the next sign. And it takes 2.5 years for the moon to change signs. Did you guys all watch my entire progressed playlist? I hope so. And if not, please go watch all those videos on the progressions. The moon progresses the fastest. And when the moon changes signs, when you're at about a 27-degree progressed moon, you need to get the next progressed chart. Okay, you need to do it again. And because it means it's about to go into the next sign. So, I like knowing about it in advance. I like figuring out the day in which my progressed moon is going to change. You usually can feel that pretty quickly. You want to get your progressed chart in a biwheel and standalone once a year frequently, but especially when that moon is about to change signs or when it has just changed signs. One thing I haven't talked about is aspects to the different planets. And I'm not going to do that in this video, but aspects from your progressed chart to your natal chart are very important. And that's one thing that you get to look at when you purchase a biwheel. You get to see all the different aspects. Oh, what aspect is my progressed sun to my natal sun? What aspect is my progressed moon to my natal sun to my natal moon? right? But in today's video, we're going to talk about when each of the planets, I'm going to go Sun through Pluto. What happens in your life when it's in a biwheel, okay? And that progressed planet hits the line of your descendant and lives in the 7th house. Now, some planets like Pluto, Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, they move so slowly that the only way they will even progress into that 7th house is if they are already really, really, really close to it. Okay, because they only move a couple degrees in your whole entire lifetime in the progress chart. So we're primarily concerned with the moon, Mercury, Venus, the sun, Mars, okay? And they all progress at different rates. Even Mars might be living in the 6th house in a biwheel your whole life. It may not progress to the 7th because there's big retrograde periods with Mars. Same with Venus, but Venus usually does progress 2 or 3 signs. I want to talk about it, and it's super exciting, and it is really quite fun. Like, this is the fun part of astrology because you get to see your life unfold. And it's kind of fun when you're a little bit older, like me, because I can look backwards and I can be, in retrospect, I can see how those transits influenced my life. Now, if you have a lot of your planets close to the ascendant, in the 11th, 12th, first house, most of those planets won't progress to the 7th house in a biwheel again. But the moon will, because the moon takes 30 years to go around the entire zodiac. So you might have a unique chart where, wow, the only transit to the 7th house I'm ever going to have is the moon. It's still really, really cool to think about. And you should figure out when that happens. So again, I hope you guys all have your progressed biwheel. You can get it in my shop. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's easy to read. Oh my gosh, if another person asks me to read an Astro free chart again, I'm just going to be like, what? I can't even see where the lines line up. So let's talk about what happens when the sun progresses to the descendant, right? To that exact degree of the ascendant and moves through the 7th house. So this is kind of cool. When the sun moves to the 7th house, this is a time in a person's life when a person kind of steps into a stronger sense of self inside their relationships. And it's almost like a strengthening of self. And it is a time when a person can really achieve more recognition, be really seen in groups, be seen in the public's eye, become known, become well liked, even become more beloved or loved. It's a time when your achievements will shine bright in the world. The 7th house is a very social house. And so this is a time when people want to be your friend. People want a piece of you. And it's also a time when you can find yourself creating a union that lights up your life, that makes you feel loved, wanted, desired. It's also a time when you can radiate a new kind of beauty. And so I want to tell you that there is also an opportunity here to, I guess, have more equilibrium in your life. For example, it might be a time in your life where your parents no longer see you as a child, but they see you as an equal, or you are treated with more equality at work or inside your partnerships where you're given 50% ownership, if you will. This is a time when you can learn a lot, when you elevate your EQ, when you become highly aware of what other people think of you. It's a time when you can be very other-oriented. Like, what do you need and want from me? What is my role inside this relationship? Rather than it just being you all on your own, doing it all by yourself. Now you come into partnerships that want to support you, want to help you, want to assist you in your goals. It's when people actually seek you out, and there's a little bit of an achievement spotlight. And if you do have your sun progress into the seventh house, it means you were probably born with a fourth, fifth, or sixth house sun. And so I want to also tell you that relationships now deepen and the importance of partnerships amplify. I also want to say that you're not interested in relationships where you're the giver and they're the taker. This has a feeling of reciprocity. This is an exciting time. This is, I'm going to tell you, a marriage predictor. This is a union predictor. This is a moving in together predictor. This is a business partnership predictor. This is when you get partnership. So I want to tell you that if you do have your progressed sun in the seventh house, your life is really highly focused on the connections that you make, the love that you create, and the partnerships that you cultivate. So it's a really exciting time. You, my sweet friend, are going to learn so much about who you are and who you are not right now when your progressed sun in a biwheel is moving through your seventh house. You are going to learn what you don't value in relationships and what the must-haves are. This is a really, really beautiful, maybe 30 years for you, maybe 29 years for you. This is a really, really beautiful time. Oh my gosh, I want to give you guys a little bit of a side note pro tip. If you have intercepted signs, and that means I don't do whole sign astrology. I know so many people still ask me, do you do whole? I don't. You can. I'm not against it. I just find that it doesn't resonate with the work that I do and the readings that I give. I find that people are far more complex than just equal slices of birthday cake. No two slices of birthday cake are actually ever the same. And so that's how I feel about houses. And I just don't believe that it's all in equal, exact proportion. And you won't ever have an intercepted sign in a whole house wheel. So I don't personally use whole houses, but if you use Coke, Porphyry, or Placidus, I like Placidus. If you use Placidus like I do, and that's how I build my charts. Now we can do any chart system you want. If you want me to build your biwheel for you in the whole house system, we can do that. Just, you have to let us know. But what's so cool, back to the little pro tip that I want to give you, is when the planet moves out of the intercepted sign, right? It's like it becomes free and it becomes seen and it becomes deeply, deeply felt. And that planet is actually set up now to have a whole new expression and relationship. So it's really exciting when your intercepted planets, right, pop out of that sign and move into the next sign. So I'm not necessarily talking about when they change signs. I already did that in another video, and I hope you guys watched my entire Progress playlist. I'm talking about when planets move into that seventh house. So they might stay in the same sign, but now they're bumped into the seventh house. Well, I'm going to tell you that this is an invitation for marriage and for partnership. Especially if it is the sun. Now let's talk about when Mercury does that. So let's talk about when Mercury enters the seventh house. This is a time when you're going to have a complete shift in awareness around what you actually think about other people, how you come into a knowledge or a knowing in how you are perceived by others. Your communication style is going to change. You could beautify your voice. You could become more conscientious or conscious about how you do use your voice. There could be a beautification, a boldness, a confidence. You could come to value your voice and your mind. But one thing I'm going to tell you is that your ability to connect and communicate and socialize with others is going to improve right now. Even if it's in a sign like Scorpio or Capricorn, it doesn't matter. Mercury transiting by progression in a biwheel, of course. So you have your natal chart on the inside, and now your Mercury is in your natal seventh house, right? There's this opportunity for you at this time to use your voice in a new way. This is like when you could actually audition for a part and you won the part. This is when you can talk, speak, think differently. You can create paradigm shifts. You can create new perspectives, and you become highly aware of what other people say about you, think about you. And I also want to tell you that there's an opportunity here to become a little bit emotionally detached. How do I say this? There's an objective thinking, because remember, the seventh house is naturally owned by Libra, and Libras are detached. They are air signs. And so you might be able to now differentiate what views, what perspectives are authentically yours versus what you have been indoctrinated into. And it's a time where you can get really real with how your opinions and what you think, what you perceive are different from others. So I have seen when Mercury is in the seventh house, you would think that this would mean that the person just wants to say anything to people please. No, but I think when they find their authentic expression, their true thoughts, their true opinions, and they have the courage to put it out there, they become well liked for those thoughts. So it's like you are well received around what you think and how you express yourself. And it's also when your voice can amplify, be heard for the first time, or be loud for the first time, or speak up for the first time. It might be when you lose your stage fright and you can raise your hand in class and say the answer, or you talk into a microphone, or you start a podcast. It's really quite an extraordinary thing when Mercury hits the seventh house, because people usually like what you have to say. Isn't that exciting? It's kind of fun. Okay, when Venus hits that descendant and transits by progression, your seventh house, this is ding, 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 ding. This is a marriage indicator. This is what I use to predict unions and marriages. Like, let's live together. Let's get engaged. Let's do this. So let me tell you a little secret thing here, okay? You may meet somebody who, when your Venus was in the, by progression, when your progressed Venus was transiting your natal sixth house, you might have met somebody and they just may not have turned you on at all. They may have been too much of a job for you, or you would not have ever even considered dating that type of person. And then that Venus hits your seventh, and all of a sudden you see this person in a whole new way. You're like, whoa, you are so hot. And you've been standing here as my friend, my pal, my coworker, my cousin. That's just joking. Joking. I've just seen who's listening to me. But anyways, it's when you can see somebody from your past, right, in a whole new way, or you are attracted to a different type now, or it might even be something where, like, God, I wouldn't have even found your type. Like, I'm a vegan. Let's say I'm a vegan, and I wouldn't have even considered anybody who wasn't a vegan. Well, that Venus hits that seventh house, and now all of a sudden you're not a vegan. I am, and I'm filled with forgiveness around you not being a vegan. But what I'm saying is, now all of a sudden that Venus hits that seventh house, and now I find myself attracted to you, and I don't mind that you're not a vegan. It's almost like that. That's a little bit of an extreme example, but it's like that which you did not find attractive before. Now you do, or now it's a potential, or now it's a possibility. There's an open-heartedness, and this is a time when you could honestly meet your soulmate, especially when it hits that descendant. And when it's traveling through the seventh house, you are highly aware of relationships, and you're going to want to attract a good relationship, a relationship that is an asset, a relationship that adds value, a relationship that provides financial security in one way, because Venus does rule money, and also helps beautify your life, maybe a really attractive partner. And that attractiveness could be surprising to you. And it's also more serious relationships, like marriage-bound relationships. Now, this could be a business partner too. I will tell you that, because remember, Venus is not just love, it's money too. But this is usually a time when you find a really positive person to benefit your life. It's exciting. It is just so, so exciting. And I find Venus transits to the seventh house are really wonderful too. But when they're by progression, it's a whole deeper ball game. It's just so, so big. Okay, you guys, talking about Venus in the seventh house, I have to tell you, I actually have this placement. And I got married when it hit my descendant. I met the man that I married, and it's really, really true. And I didn't do that because it was transiting; it was genuinely right. But you guys, I have to tell you something. I also got the opportunity to do my very first pilot, and it's called Murder Signs. And I am so lucky because the producers gave me permission to sell the show in my shop. It's only $2.99. You can go to shopsoulnavigation.com and please, please, will you purchase it for $2.99? We will send you the streaming link, and I need 1,000 people to watch it. If I can get 1,000 people to watch it, oh my gosh, they will give me this. They will give me the opportunity to continue the series. So please go to Shop Soul Navigation and stream my very first pilot. It is on the notorious murderer, Joran van der Sloot. Ooh, ick. I show you his chart, and I show you the two women who he murdered, Natalie Holloway and Stephanie Flores. And I show you their charts by transit, by composite. I think I even look into the progressions. So I want you guys to see it. It's $2.99. And I hope so much there will be 1,000 of you that will go and watch my very first pilot so I can get it launched. And I have Venus in the seventh house. So I'm really hoping you, my sweet friend, will be my Venus in the seventh house. Okay, Mars. Mars is a little tougher here because Mars is contentious. And Mars is like the knife, right? It severs, it cuts. And so you might be a little bit more aggressive or combative or even competitive in your relationships. You might lose friends. You might let go of friends. You might let go of your relationship, your marriage. It can cause a divorce. You have to look at what other aspects are happening to that Mars. Is that Mars in a hard place with Pluto or with Saturn or with Uranus? Because if so, it makes this even more contentious. I'll tell you, there's a lot of strength in this position if you're super healthy and if you're in a healthy relationship. Don't be fearful that your relationship's going to fall apart. If you're healthy, it can strengthen. But this is a time when the two of you might even strengthen your bond together in some way, like start working out, start tackling new challenges together inside partnership. But I can tell you that Mars in the seventh house, it doesn't operate very well because this is Venus's house. It usually wants to make changes. It's usually restless. It doesn't like status quo. It's like one day they come home and they're just like, you're boring. And so if you can't get, on their pony and ride, if you will, and change things up, they might lose interest. So they get bored very, very quickly. With Mars in the seventh house, you get restless. You want results, excitement, activity, health and wellness. This is the workout sign, right? Like I want to work out. I want to look good. I want to be good. I want to get strong. You also might need to advocate for your partnerships. You might need to advocate for your partner. You might be the medical advocate. You might be, your partner might not be able to protect or stand up for themselves. And this is a time when you really champion your partner or partnership. And this is also a time when you might need to fight for your partner or go after what it is you really, really want. This is a time when partnerships can agitate you as well. You can be very annoyed very easily and too restless. So it's almost a detriment, right? So if you do have this aspect, I want to say go gently in the night, channel your inner peacefulness and tranquility, and know that you might be bringing way too much assertiveness, way too much energy, way too much combativeness or competitiveness to the relationship. You might be too heavy-handed in your pursuit of all things that you want, and you could be a royal loud mouth turnoff. I'm sure none of you are that, but also look to see what sign it is in, right? So what sign is that progressed Mars transiting your seventh house in? and really try to harness like the assertive but not aggressive side to Mars in the seventh house. Don't be at the mercy of a partner that is abusive to you. A little warning label right there. It doesn't happen all the time, but you can be in a combative relationship that you actually need to get out of. And I hope that that's nobody listening or nobody here, but it does happen too frequently, as we know. And I don't wish that on anyone, but I do want you to be aware that that can happen. So if that did happen in your past life where you were in something that was kind of abusive or hurtful or painful to you, go look and see, did you have Mars possibly by progression in your natal seventh house? And if you guys don't know how to figure that out, remember, you can always get your Astro Gold package, and that's your progressed chart. That is your progressed report. And then it is a second report that is so good because the second report goes into your houses and the rulers of each house. It is really, really good. It is probably my most popular package after the starter package, but I really, really recommend that everybody gets their Advanced Astro Gold package. It's really, really good. I just want to say one last little thing about Mars in the seventh house, and that is when you can project yourself onto the world as a very strong, ambitious, confident person. You can have the strength and the power to achieve your goals, especially inside partnerships. So like I said, channel the assertiveness, not the aggressiveness, right? Because it's a time when you have stamina, grit, tenacity to work inside your partnerships in a heroic way. Now, you might be asked to be somebody's hero. And when you're asked to be somebody's hero, there's usually a reason to be a hero. And we don't always like those reasons, right? But it is a very heroic time inside your partnerships. So transiting Jupiter through the seventh house by progression is absolutely fascinating. I love it. It's like, let the abundance, right, rain down on me. I'm receptive now to all good things coming from my partnerships, and your partnerships can really alter for the betterment or the improvement of your life. It's when you can also fall in love with foreign travel or foreigners or foreign music or foreign food. It's when you can, dance with a stranger, not being able to communicate at all with them in the same language, yet you understand them. And this is a time when you could really alter your life through partnerships. You could better your life. You can be so extremely inspired by your place in the world. You can be so incredibly inspiring, empowering, helping others achieve their best self, helping others achieve their goals, and also receiving the much needed intangible things that you need, and maybe even tangible, for you to become your very best version of yourself. This is a time when you might, with a partner, go out and trek the world in search of the Holy Grail. What is the truth of life? You could actually bond or marry a partner that is more like a mentor to you, maybe somebody older, wiser, more regal, more royal. And I say that metaphorically, like really admiring somebody in a position that you feel is higher than you, or somebody who's maybe more advanced than you, more philosophical than you, maybe even a teacher of some sort to you, a shaman of some sort, and you create a union with that person, and that levels you up just by association. I also consider this a marriage transit because it's when blessings are bestowed upon you inside partnerships. I'll tell you, this is one of the most rewarding, best, exciting, adventurous, happy, abundant, glorious, sweet predictive indicators out of all of astrology. When Jupiter hits that seventh house by progression, not just transit, by progression. So progressions have deeper effects than transits do. So for me, I will never in my lifetime, sadly, ever experience this because Jupiter moves really, really slowly. So the only way you will have this is if Jupiter lives in your natal chart very, very closely to that descendant. And my Jupiter is close to the ascendant. So I want to say that Jupiter brings in new multicultural diverse, exploratory opportunities, associations, and relationships to you. And that Jupiter can also create on the seventh house cusp by progression. It can create long lasting relationships that feel forever happy and good. There's a lot of joy inside your connections, and people oftentimes feel like you are the happy face, you are the sunshine, you are the adorableness and the abundance in their life that is so desired, so wanted, and so needed. You, my friend, if you have this aspect, leave it in the comments below. I try to answer as many comments as possible. It's getting harder since I hit my 100,000 subscriber mark. By the way, I highly recommend you join the channel and become a member. It's only $2.99. After you stream my movie premiere, go become a member. Just hit the join button on my homepage and you can see all my behind the scenes videos. And I hope so much that you are a member. Please support the work that I'm doing, and by becoming a member, $2.99 a month. And I'm so grateful because it's my members that keep the content alive. So thank you, thank you, thank you, super supporters and superstars, super supporters. And by the way, I just did my Playful Progressions party. And if you bought a ticket, to all my members, it was for my members only. If you bought a ticket, you will get the link to the recording for that. So there's all kinds of perks, all kinds of fun stuff for my members. So tell me if you do have Jupiter by progression transiting your seventh house, and tell me what beautiful, fabulous things are happening to you. It could even be something like you could be pregnant, right? You could have a first child. It's anything that adds big blessings to your partnership or to your life. And and let's say you don't have a partner and you are pregnant, that can still be considered a partnership because you are in partnership with your child. So it's very sweet to have Jupiter progressing through your natal seventh house. I feel so excited for you. Saturn can be a little bit like Mars, where you might feel alienated, alone. You might feel even depressed inside your relationship. So if you are already with somebody and you have Saturn hitting that seventh house cusp, or if you have Saturn in the eighth house and it's retrograding back into the seventh, that also counts. So I just want to say something. Those planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, they can be in the eighth house, and by retrograde, they pop into the seventh. Okay, so this still pertains to those planets, but oftentimes they're coming from the sixth house, moving into the seventh. There is a feeling of maturity. There's a feeling of getting really, really friggin' real with myself. There's a feeling of wanting to eliminate the frivolity from my life. If you have memorabilia from a partner, this is a time when you have Saturn there, you might want to get rid of it. Like, I don't want all those cups and saucers from my ex. Why are they in the garage or in storage? Why do I even hold on to them? So this is a time of purging the hard parts of your relationships. You might leave your partnership, you might leave your business partnership, you might file for divorce. Your child might be leaving the nest, right? There is a need to regroup and redefine who am I in the world. There's also a new desire to become your own authority, to not be bossed around anymore. There may be big opportunities for you to discover, like leveling up your life, taking on more responsibility than maybe even what you want to. Maybe you will be taking care of aging parents. Maybe you are the aging parent, right? Your relationships are going to have a shift in it, and there's going to be some sort of time factor. So either the age, like the kid leaving the nest, or the parents aging, or you're aging, or you've done 2 decades of a theme inside of marriage that you no longer find comfortable, rewarding, kind, or nice. This is a time when you can feel like the weight of the world in your relationships is sort of burdening you. And this is a time when you are going to discover new opportunities for your own self, for your own soul to grow itself inside its connections. And this is also a time where you might feel like your partnerships are at odds with what you really want to do in life, because that Saturn will now be opposing your rising sign. And it's just like, whoa, I want to do me. I don't get to do me. But you do get to do you. It's just going to be on new terms. And you are going to discover that you are the authority inside your relationships in some way, shape, or form. There is also a new aspect of self that you're going to discover, because this is very hard on the ascendant. Saturn opposing the ascendant is a very difficult aspect. And so you're going to grow yourself through the tumultuous, hard, challenging times. So tell me if you have this placement. And this can retrograde from the 8th house, and this can also come from the 6th house. Now, this also moves so slowly by progression that it would have to have been very, very close to the 7th house for it to land in the 7th house by progression, because it progresses really slow. I'll tell you, you are going to become more self-aware because the relationships in your life are going to challenge you in some way, shape, or form. So bite the bullet, leave me a comment below, and let me know what is going on in your life. Oh my gosh, by the way, I should have already said this. I hope you guys are considering coming to Barcelona. It is going to be so much fun. We are taking a sunset cruise for happy hour. We're going to see a live flamenco show. We're going to play at night, and we are going to study the deeper side of the moon. We're going to study Jupiter, your planet of abundance and good luck. And we are going to take a look at death markers in the chart, not your own death, but how to see death and how to deal with death transits in the chart. It is going to be riveting, fascinating, and we are going to have just the time of our lives. I cannot wait.
Meredith is my dream teacher. I am so grateful to be here. Beautiful Barcelona. Y'all, we saw a flamenco show and it just tied everything together.
My brain is kind of exploding, but in the best way possible.
She created a community that is really just lifelong.
In October, you can go to soulnavigation.com and click on my astrology workshops and retreats. And I have all the information, where to stay, where the event will be held, all the information, how much it costs. It's going to be for 3 days and 1 night. We're going to have a blast, and I cannot wait to meet you face to face. I cannot wait to give you a hug. Okay, let's talk about Uranus in by progression, traveling through the 7th house. This does not always mean you're getting divorced, but it can mean that you're getting divorced. Or this can be a midlife crisis. This can be just a desire to be freed from old habits, old tendencies, old protocols that are existing in your relationship. And it can kind of threaten your relationship, or your relationship could feel threatened, but it doesn't necessarily mean, oh, it's ending. But I will tell you, you are going to change as an individual. And if you have a partner that can deal with your new desires, your new approach to life, your new hopes, dreams, and wishes around the new you. I don't know if you come home and you just look totally different, or you have completely new interests. It might threaten your partner. So having Uranus, it's like, oh my God, who are you? Who did I marry? What is going on? It can feel like you've completely left your partnership, even though really what's happening is you're sort of reinventing yourself with a newfound desire for freedom. You are going to want a partner that will allow you new kinds of freedoms, and they might misunderstand that desire after all this time. And you might have different boundaries, right? New boundaries, or you might refine your boundaries in a way that it never mattered to you before, and now it does. So you're going to change. You're going to want your partner to respect your changes. And if you're with a partner that wants you to stay the same forever, that's probably not going to work out real well. No. Yeah, that's the hard part. So it doesn't mean divorce. It does mean change. I will tell you, there is like a real bonus to this, where there can be lots of surprises. You can even surprise your own self inside relationships. You can be surprising. You can be very electric, super smarty pants, want to learn new kind of wild and crazy things. Maybe all of a sudden you want to become, I don't know, karaoke singer, or you want to do open mic night and you're 60 years old and you want to go down and do open mic night, and your partner never even saw this side of you. So this whole new side wants to be inventive and and wants to be free to express itself. And you need to. So I hope with this placement, and you can even look and see if you don't have this yet, if you have Uranus close to that 7th house cusp in your natal chart, go look and see, is it ever in your lifetime going to progress into the 7th house? Do you have a partner that really embraces and welcomes change? And change in you. And I can also tell you that you might experience painful separations with this, where somebody also feels like, I'm not getting my needs met, I need to leave. So you can renegotiate your terms. This could be a business breakup, right? Or going into a new kind of business or revamping your business. This could be revamping your place in society or the world. You might become unconventional. I know this woman who's a very conventional person who ran HR for a school district. And now after her retirement, she is just like living out of the back of her van. She's having a blast. She rescues dogs. She is so massively creative and she's unstoppable, and she's retired. So she had a conventional life, and now it's a totally unconventional, creative, massively supersized, creative, supersized expression. And she's just riveting and fascinating. And I'm like, do you want to have a partner? She's like, no, not really. They all slow me down. They're all just too damn slow, too damn boring. I don't need mashed potatoes for dinner. I am happy and I'm thriving, and I get to do life on my own terms and the way I want it. So there can also be a desire, a genuine desire to do life on your own terms, as you like it, when you want it, how you want it, quirky, uncanny, unconventional. Yeah. Okay. When Neptune is transiting by progression into your 7th house, this can be really gorgeous. This is a time when you can really experience selfless love. You can feel like God's love upon you. You can have a spiritual awakening through partnership of some sort. You can also have a spiritual awakening, like socially. Maybe you join a group, an organization, find God, if you will. I don't know. That could be the Hikers Club. That could be the Bunko Group. I don't know. It could be church, but it doesn't have to be church. But it's almost like your relationship with divine spirit really fuses together. That's what makes Neptune in the 7th house so gorgeous. However, this comes with a warning label, because you can be standing in the erosion of self in the name of relationship. And you can be an overgiver. You can be so sacrificial that you completely lose your whole identity to healing and fixing this wounded bird. So your relationships going forward, when you have Neptune, you could be very attracted to a person who needs you, and a person who sort of is a vampire in your life, sucks all your resources, all your energy, and makes you completely lose yourself. Has anybody ever experienced this before? This is a Neptune transit where your own body, right, has no boundaries, and you just give infinitely to other people. So much so where you are just depleted and exhausted, and they just, literally suck the life out of you. You have to be very, very careful if you have this transit to make sure that you're not the overgiver and that you haven't sacrificed your soul for the return of nothing, and that you're not an enabler. Like, do not become an enabler with this. That's the very scary part of this. You can stand in the loss of your own identity and have an erosion of your own soul and not know who you are or what you want. You can love a person unconditionally, getting nothing but chaos and havoc in return. This could be the woman who's in love with the married man, and he promises her he's getting the divorce, and she waits around year after year after year after year after two decades, and she still believes his promises, right? This can also be the person who is involved with somebody who is quite abusive, but they apologize and you feel sorry for it, and they do it again. So learning to stand up for yourself, take a stance for yourself, be in unconditional love if you want to, ask for healthy things in return. I want to tell you that you could end up doing projects, be in service of, helping, participating in, creating new things in your life based on what other people want from you. So doing someone else's bidding. What are your parents' expectations of you? And do you have to just be a good soldier and do it the way they tell you to do it? Or do you get to figure out, and it takes a lot of soul searching, what it is you want, and are you strong enough to go about doing that, even if it comes at the cost of your family or your parents or your siblings or your spouse or your partnership or your children? disapproving of you. Like personally, I want to move to the south of France when I retire. And I asked my daughter, would you be disappointed if I did that? Because I might not be around. I might not be around to help you like raise your children. And I would hate that. And she goes, oh, mama, don't you worry. We will be over there in the south of France all the time. We will come to you. I'm like, okay, good. That made me feel so good because I don't know if I could actually really do that. And I don't know where she'll be in her life, but those are the kinds of conversations you need to have, especially I don't have Neptune there, but if you have Neptune in that seventh house, can you do life on your own terms, even if it kind of disappoints other people? It's very, very, very painful and hard to do. But I will also tell you, you can be a massively creative outlet for the world, and you could be a creative inspiration for the world. And remember, I told you that your progress chart keeps on progressing even after you cross over and you live in heaven. So for example, it would be really cool for me to go look at, say, Vincent van Gogh's chart or Elvis Presley's chart and see if Neptune or see if any planets by progression hit that seventh house cusp, because Van Gogh wasn't particularly revered. His art wasn't particularly revered until he passed away. So I would love to know, like, what was the sale of, what was the big mega sale of his first painting? When did that happen? And what was happening in the seventh house? Like, why all of a sudden did he move out of self-isolation and working and slaving away at his art into the general population of the world coming to fall madly in love with him after he died, right? And why is art, here's a real question for you, please answer it in the comments if you know, why is art more revered when the artist dies? Why do we only cherish things to that degree after the artist can no longer produce more work? Why do we cherish things when we lose them? I don't know. I'm trying not to be like that. I want to cherish things while I'm alive, and I want to cherish people when I'm alive. And when you have Neptune in the seventh, there is a part where you are probably cherishing the other person, but are they cherishing you back in return? That's my question. And the answer should be yes. Yes, they are. Not like, oh yeah, because they apologize, they hit me, and then they apologize, yeah, they cherish me. No, if they cherish you, they don't hit you. Right? Let's talk about Pluto in the seventh house. Okay, this is a doozy. This can bring great transformation to your relationship. I hope it's positive. I hope it's beautiful. I hope you get your wings from the butterfly. And this can be a time when you have a great deal of power, or you could also be a power couple. However, saying that, what really is happening is that you are going to be challenged around your comfort. You are going to probably have to become quite productive. You're going to have to face challenges, and you'll probably become more productive. You will probably become more powerful. You will probably develop a personal power because of what you lose. And so that was my Vincent van Gogh question, right? And again, I have to tell you that you should get my Advanced Astro Gold Package, especially if you've got Pluto or any of these difficult planets, Uranus, Saturn, Pluto, Mars, even Neptune, by progression, transiting your seventh house. So go purchase the Advanced Astro Gold Package. You will love it. And also, I have to recommend my Soul's Design Report and my Child's Report, no matter how old you are. They are fan-friggin-tastic. I'm assuming you all already have the starter package. So those are just critical for starting your journey with me here at Soul Navigation and diving in deep into your soul's contract. Now back to Pluto. Pluto can be just as hard, disruptive, painful as Uranus when it is transiting by progression in the seventh house, because it is going to bring you an ending, which in truth wants to transform your partnerships to create a new beginning. This is when the phoenix rises from the ash. And you're going to be given a new awareness around what your relationship was and what it was not. And if there is a misuse of power on your end or their end, it will be revealed. The light will be shown. You will also see that fears might come up. Secrets might be exposed about you. This is when your sex tape can come out, when you didn't even know you had one, right? And it can be quite destructive, damaging. It can be where the light is shining on the betrayals. Maybe you find out at this time when Pluto transits the seventh house that your partner has a whole another life that they're living without you and has lied about it in some way. But I'll tell you that your partner is probably the agent or the catalyst for change. Your partner might even become a little bit manipulative. Like when Neptune is in the seventh, your partner can be needy and broken and needs fixing or healing, or needs too much from you, needs your service. But with Pluto, your partner can become secretive. They can become controlling, too strong, too powerful, and a psychological trickster with you. And you can also experience like emotional cruelty. I'll tell you, if you're in partnership with an animal or a business partner or just a romantic partner or a deep, deep friendship, there can be a loss with Pluto there. Not always, but there can be losses. You might also really wake up to, wow, that person has been cruel to me my whole life. Wow, that person is never nice to me. Why did I tolerate that? Why did I put up with that? I'm not doing that anymore. I'm leaving. I'm out of here. I'm severing this tie. There's a new awareness and there's a new desire to transform some or all of your relationships for the psychological health and wellness of your own self. I'll tell you, greater understanding always comes from Pluto transits if you allow them to do their work and you don't get destroyed by them. I also want to tell you that you might be able to channel the other side at this time. You might become a medium. You might become a great protector. You might develop new power skills, superpowers that you loan to your relationship. I'll tell you, this will be a very climactic time. I will never have this transit. Will you? I want to know if you're going to have Pluto crossing the descendant. It's a very powerful time. You might be on the defensive. You might be on the offensive. Usually I find that when Pluto is transiting the seventh house, your back is on the ropes. And you are in a place where you are in the defensive position. Many times you just have to let go and surrender and let God do God's work. Let the universe do the universe's work. You're going to reshape your awareness about your partnerships. You're going to see the secrets. You're going to see the dark side.
We can use astrology to find deeper truths, to see why somebody chose to kill another, to understand the motivations of a soul.
Why did Joran van der Sloot do what he did? And I tell you where the soul got corroded. So it's not just what the media said about it, it's the truth of like how the soul was ruined, was damaged. And that part I found to be really, really fascinating. I hope that we get 1,000 people today to stream the video.
Okay, I realized that I was remiss about talking about the moon in the seventh house and crossing over the descendants. This is going to happen once every 30 years. If you live to 30, everybody's going to experience this because the moon is the fastest planet. We call it a planet. It's really a luminary to progress through the charts. This is a time when you become highly aware, deeply intuitive, and very sensitive about your relationships. This is when you can stand in the mother archetype of your relationships. Either you become a mother or you are operating through a motherly archetype, if you will. It can also be a time when your relationship with your mom is exalted or heightened or brought to the forefront of your life. It's a time when you could be so sensitive to the needs of others and to your own needs that there's a little bit of an emotional melancholy. The moon is opposing your rising sign, so you could be emotionally held back in some way. Like, I want to do this dream, but I just can't. I can't leave my mom. I am a mom. I can't leave. I've got duties. I've got emotional responsibilities, so I cannot go out there in the world and be myself. But I will tell you that the moon is kind of neutral. It can go both ways. It depends what other aspects you have to the moon. And it also depends how healthy is your own moon. And is this moon in this house making a positive or negative aspect to your moon? So one of the things that I really like about the moon progressing through the seventh house is this is a time when you are going to go into deep emotional evaluation. If your life, if your heart, if your place out there in the world, if your relationship is bringing you a level of emotional fulfillment. with the moon, wherever the moon is, there's always a little bit of a bittersweetness. There's a sweetness and there's a little bit of a bittersweetness because you're in touch with it all. You're in touch with the whole gamut, with the entire Rubik's Cube of feelings. You are in touch with what disappoints you, what fulfills you. And so this is a time in your life when you can really get your relationship into a place of emotional fulfillment, but it might require you to make changes, to let go of certain things, to let go of friendships, business partnerships, to let go of relationships that no longer work for you. You might reevaluate your relationships right now because you are highly sensitive to what it is you want and what it is you no longer want, what no longer fulfills you and what does fulfill you. It can make your relationships kind of a little bit rocky because the moon is rocky. The moon is your emotional fluctuation, right? The moon is not Saturn. It's not just one way all the time. The moon ebbs and flows every day and every night. And so you could feel a lot more emotional. This might feel a little bit like a menopausal woman or a hormonal teenager in some way, where it's not flat. Hold off a little bit. Don't make rash decisions because you're probably going to have your feelings change tomorrow. Like, damn, why did I break up with him? I didn't really mean to. I was just mad at him because he didn't call me and he didn't show up and he stood me up and he was supposed to treat me and he didn't. And he didn't give me a present and it was my birthday and he didn't acknowledge me and I broke up with him and now I'm so sad. So like, don't be rash because you can be really emotionally rash. And you could also be really, really beloved by the public with the moon in the 7th house, where other people see you as the moon. Other people receive you as the moon in their life. They could even be having like a little, romantic crush or affair with you and you're oblivious to it. You can be really, really beloved and loved and cherished and adored and quite charming. And what I want you to do is go and look and see if this progressed moon in your 7th house is in a positive relationship to your natal moon or your natal sun. Or is it in hard relationship to your natal moon or your natal sun? Because that will show you, and remember the moon moves pretty fast. So the degrees are going to move pretty fast. That's going to show you if you're emotionally struggling or if you're emotionally optimistic and filled to the brim with emotional fulfillment. I hope so much that you got so much out of this video. I hope you love learning with me. Please go look at all of my workshops and my videos that I have for sale in my store. And I hope you're coming to Barcelona. And please, please, will you go purchase for $2.99 my very first pilot? I need 1,000 views. And if I get those, they will give me the series. So please help me. And thank you for being a member, a subscriber. Comment below. And I love having you here. So from my house here in Seattle, Washington, to wherever you are at in the world, I wish you the very, very best. Take good care and bye for now.